Welcome today to the afternoon snack with the Word. I'm Pastor Mark Fast with New Hope Bible Fellowship, and I want to thank you for joining me. Today we're going to talk about the will of God. We talked yesterday about the work of God. What is the work of God? That you believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Today we're going to go into the will of God, and with the will of God, we go over to John chapter 6, and we talk about he's in the context of talking about food and food for eternal life. And we're going to start in verse 34. And he says, "My food is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish his work. Don't you say there are 4 months and then comes the harvest? Listen to what I'm telling you. Open your eyes, look at the fields, because they are ready for harvest. The reaper is already receiving pay and gathering fruit for eternal life, so that the sower and the reaper can rejoice together." Now here's the key. For in this case the saying is true, one sows, another reaps. And in verse 38 he says, "I sent you to reap what you didn't labor for. Others have labored and you have benefited from their labor." So his whole point here, and again, this is right after Jesus is talking with the woman at the well. And his whole point here is that his food, or his will, my food is to do the will of him who sent me and finish his work. Okay? What is the will of him who sent me? Okay, well, that brings us back over to John chapter 6. And again, we're coming right in the middle of his statement, but for brevity's sake, we're going to read chapter 30 or verse 38. "For I've come down from heaven not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. This is the will of him who sent me." Key thing. This is the will of him who sent me, that I should lose none of these that he has given me, but should raise them up on the last day. And then he repeats it and says, "This is the will of my Father, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him will have eternal life, and I will raise him up on the last day." 3 things. Believe, in return you get eternal life, and being raised up by the Son himself on the last day. So with that in mind, the will of God brings us into a place that's tied with the work of God. All right. Now, if you remember, he talks about in the will of God. We just are out of time on this. We'll have to continue it again tomorrow. I really appreciate your patience on this. I thank you for joining me. Click the like button down below, and make any comments, questions, anything that you have to say. I really appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for coming, and I'll see you tomorrow. And I'll see you here at the same time, same place at 3:33. Have a great afternoon, and may God bless.